Hello everyone once again. Welcome back to another video on the Harman Motorworks channel, and today I've got something slightly special for you all. This is Flight Simulator 2020, ladies and gentlemen. And what you've been seeing so far is all in-game footage of the actual simulator. This is actually the intro. But what you saw just a few moments earlier was actual in-game footage of my gameplay, flying the Cessna 172. There's a lot to say about this simulation, so what I'm going to do is keep this in real time, let a lot of these screenshots speak for themselves. But I think it's obvious to say that a lot of us have been waiting a long time for Microsoft to release the next installment to their Flight Simulator franchise. The first installment of which appeared in 1982. So the previous installment to this was Flight Simulator X, which was released in 2006, as you all know, or as most of you know. I've been a fairly long-term veteran of simulations in general, and I've amassed quite a collection of hardware to prove this. So I will be doing this first look for Flight Simulator 2020 today using my CH Products Flight Sim yoke, throttle quadrant and rudder pedals, not to mention of course the Track IR head tracking system. But enough of that, let's talk about the simulations. So yes, this has been several years in development from what I've heard, and I just picked this up on Steam the other day for about $99. So the standard version, which is what we're looking at here, comes with 30 handcrafted airports, and of course has the awesome terrain simulation that we're about to see. So the terrain is basically, the way it works in this simulation is that the terrain is streamed to your computer. Never before has this been done by any game developer. So basically this utilizes Microsoft's Bing Maps database, and what it does is it streams the terrain to your computer using your internet connection, which is hopefully fast enough, as you fly your plane. So what this means is that you get satellite imagery, satellite accuracy hopefully as well, and there are, I've heard, 37,000 airports in total in the simulation. So this is the main menu, so it's finally loaded. Loading times do take quite a while with this game, so I'm just letting the video load in real time, basically letting the simulation load in real time. We're looking at the world map mode here. So this is the main free flight, I guess, area of the simulation. As you can see there, you've got planet Earth in front of us. I've just clicked on the aircraft's selection here, and you can see there's quite a few different aircraft available for us, even in the standard version. So the premium version adds additional aircraft, and the deluxe version as well. So I've gone for the standard version for now. And as you can see here, I've got all the aircraft selected. You can see here the iconic 747, the A320 as well. So, and a whole slew of propeller planes and mini jet planes, the Cessna Citation, for example. And of course, the old favorites. You've got the Beechcraft King Air, as you can see here as well. And yeah, this is quite a classic, and of course, obviously, as I mentioned, you've got your Cessna 172, 152, and a few of the Bonanzas and a few of the newer aircraft as well. What I'm showing you here is just, you can see the specs on each aircraft, and you can see the green markers mean that the aircraft that we're about to select is better than the one that we already have selected. So the lowly 172 is not as good as the King Air, but is better than the 152, as you can see here. So it's got little hints like that within the game, little metrics and markers for you to sort of take note of. And there's quite a bit of information available to you within the simulation as well. There's a whole training section. Here's the Cessna Citation that I was talking about just earlier. Okay. And so basically, with this simulation, as you can see here, you can select a whole slew of different options in the free flight section. So we're going with the 172 Skyhawk today with the G1000 glass cockpit screens, which is very, very sexy. Alright, so let's go ahead and select our departure airport. We're going to choose Donegal in Ireland. Now this is one of the handcrafted airports within this simulation, so I thought I would check this out. So as I mentioned before, there's over 37,000 airports available around the world in the simulation, but about 30 of those are available to you in like fully realistic mode pretty much, and Donegal being one of them. So if you look online, you'll see the list of handcrafted airports versus those that are automatically generated using satellite imagery. And I must say that even the auto-gen scenery is done really, really well. So the add-on developers are really going to have their work cut out for them if they want to improve on this. And you'll see evidence of that in just a sec. Okay, so just going to go ahead and choose our gate parking, our start point basically. Going to choose a parking ramp. And the reason for that is so that we can demonstrate pushback and all that sort of thing. Alright, so you've got multiplayer options, air traffic control, weather and time, which is live. You can turn off the live setting and you can mess with the times yourself. What I'm doing here is I'm just making it nice and early in the morning, so that we're not flying in the darkness. And you can see the sun lighting up certain parts of the planet and the darkness on the other half. It's pretty cool. So the weather is all real time as well, and the weather and turbulence is fantastic, and we'll go through that in this video as well. Okay, so just speeded up time a little bit here. Just wanted to basically skip the loading sequence a little bit. But yeah, the load times initially entering the sim are the worst, but then once you've selected your free flight, the loading times aren't too bad. Okay. So at the beginning of each flight, you get this lovely little overview of your flight, the visibility, and you get some specifications and performance data of the aircraft you're about to fly. You get a nice little camera walk around almost of your aircraft as well. Now, those of you coming from some of the third-party add-ons, you may be a little bit disappointed. These are just the default aircraft, so whilst the flight model has been completely revamped in this simulation from Flight Simulator X from 2006, I've heard that a lot of the third-party developers for aircraft are going to come to the table and start porting their aircraft over to this simulation as well. But for the moment, we'll make do with the default aircraft, which are done actually very, very well, as you'll see. Already you can see here the attention to detail on the exterior is very, very good indeed. You wouldn't think that it's a default aircraft. So, okay, so here we are. We're parked. We've got our little pushback guy waiting for us to push our aircraft back. So this is obviously the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. What we'll do is we'll engage our guy here to basically push us back in just a second. And we're just going to do a quick flight around the Donegal airfields. So click on ready to fly and we are plonked down in the cockpit. Now the frames do drop every now and then for me. I'm just manipulating the throttle there. But after a few seconds I find that everything is fine. For those of you interested in my computer specifications, I'm running a lowly GTX 1070, I guess you could say. It is slightly above the recommended. And I'm running a i7 CPU, the 2700K from several years ago now, which has held up really well, I must say. So as I said before, I've got my CH Products yoke, flight sim yoke, a little bit aged now, so you'll see there that it's a bit shaky, but by and large, all the controls work fine. I've mapped everything up. For those of you interested in how I've mapped my controls, do let me know in the comments, and I can go through this in a separate video. I will go through some of my graphic settings towards the end of this video as well, just to show you all how I've got it configured. A lot of it was auto set or preset by the simulation. And it's interesting to note my lowly computer, which is 5 to 6 years old now, it was actually classed as a high end in the graphics settings. Anyway, enough ado about that. Let's look at the interior as we're doing now. I'm using my Track IR head tracking here, guys, and if you haven't picked this up already, I would definitely recommend getting a Track IR head tracking unit for your simulation. So just doing a check of the ailerons here, and everything's looking good so far. And you can see the attention to detail with the sound effects when you manipulate the controls as well. So yes, this is the Cessna 172 with the lovely Garmin 1000 glass cockpit. You can see the interior is done very well. The seats, the textures. One thing they haven't done yet is have opening doors and things like that, but I'm sure they'll implement that as time goes on. Okay. So it chose a nice and early start today for us, early morning. And I don't pretend to be a professional here, so I'm not going to do everything by the book. This video is more just to show you guys the simulation itself and how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and do a startup now. So first thing you do is turn on the battery master, and look at that, she's come to life. Just take a moment to take that in. What we have here is a mostly fully functional heads-up display unit, or MFD, multifunction display. A lot of the controls are clickable, and you can see here oil pressure, you've got your alerts, you've got all sorts of different pages that you can scroll through. So yeah, I'm not even going to scratch the surface on this in this video for sure. This is more just a video to give you, obviously, as I said just now, a first look at the simulation itself. So we'll get this aircraft started in just a sec. I'm just looking at here the RPM. You've got your airspeed indicator, oil pressure, temperatures, exhaust gas, all that sort of stuff, temperature. Alrighty. So what we'll do is we'll get this thing started shortly, but before we do that, let's get the avionics bus turned on, and you'll see a nice little map. You'll notice that the engine controls move over to the right hand side once you turn on the second screen, the avionics, leaving you to focus on your speed and altitude on the left hand screen. Alright, so let's get this guy, he's looking away from us at the moment. Let's get his attention. So in order to do that, you need to have your avionics turned on, which we have just done. And then at the top you've got this little fly out menu. Move your mouse up there, select ATC, which is air traffic control, ground services, tune to the Donegal ground service, and request pushback.
Donegal ground, Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha requesting pushback.
Okay, so it's worth noting here that the commands that you can give to the pushback operator are a little bit delayed. So you'll see there it says request pushback stop, request pushback steer to the left and right, all that sort of stuff. So as he's pushing you back, you can control his steering motions, but they do take a few seconds to take effect. So if you need to turn left, you need to tell him in advance, and you'll see that shortly how long it takes him to respond. So these are the commands there. Now obviously before he can do anything, you need to release your brakes as well. So I've got my rudder pedals which are hooked up to the brake. I've released the parking brake there, so no problems pushing us back here. So we're just going to go straight back. I'm not going to bother telling him to steer us to the left or right. Okay. Okay, so as we near the little line coming up here, the end, the little taxiway, I guess you could say. You notice there how it took a few seconds there to respond, basically. So by the time I clicked on stop, there was a few more feet traveled before he finally responded. So yeah, just bear in mind with that, because it can catch you out if there's a fence coming up and you're rather close. You can actually hit the brakes and he will stop the aircraft. Oh, the aircraft will stop even with him trying to push you. Anyway, okay, so let's get the engine primed up. Just doing a check of all the controls here, the mixture, the fuel selector, everything looks good. Now I've got my mixture and throttle mapped to my throttle quadrants as well, my levers. So all that is mapped already. Now it's not fully real, as in like you can't start the engine and basically add mixture afterwards. So you do have to have a bit of mixture as you start the engine, basically. So I'm looking at you, those of you who have watched me play the Cessna 172 on the A2A simulations, which I'm really hoping that A2A will come to the party on this simulation as well. I'm sure it's only a matter of time. Okay, so let's go ahead and request clearance. So we're going to remain in pattern today. So technically, okay, so yeah, I was going to say technically we're meant to be doing some touch and goes, but what I'm going to do is just a quick fly around. Now I'm just showing you here how you can, you've actually got a physical airspeed indicator as well as your Garmin G1000 glass heads-up display as well. So you've always got access to your physical altitude, attitude, and airspeed basically. Alright, so just doing a little bit of a taxi here. Not a great taxi. Oops. Let's acknowledge that last transmission.
And hold short runway 21 via taxiway Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Okay, so runway 21 is what we'll be using today, or what we'll attempt to use. In actual fact, I'll probably just take off using the opposite direction. It's not really a big deal in this case. Like I said, I'm not really flying by the book today, so please do not take what I'm doing as gospel. For those of you watching at home, I'm not a professional pilot, but I have been flying in simulations for a little while. But yes, the whole aim of this video is just to do a first look, as I mentioned a few times already. So let's get her lined up and request takeoff.
Donegal Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha ready for touch and go at runway 21.
Okay.
Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha cleared for takeoff runway 21 left touch and go approved.
Just do a quick mag check here. I know this is not the right place to do it. Should be done on the taxiway. Hold short during the hold short, but anyway. Looking good so far, mags are good. Fuel flow is good. I'm just doing a quick glance at the gauges there. Yep. Acknowledge.
Cleared for takeoff runway 21 Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Alright, and here we go. And almost immediately you can see there a bit of torque from the propeller. He's pulling the aircraft to the left. So I'm adding some right rudder here and trying to keep it as smooth and on the center line as much as possible. Alright. We're coming up to rotate territory. 60 knots. 70 knots. Okay, a bit shaky on the controls, so bear with me guys, a bit rusty on this. I think I need to play with the sensitivities a little bit as well. So, but just look at this scenery guys. Look at it. Look at that. And this is certainly not the most scenic area of the world either. So, as you'll see in some future videos, hopefully, that I'll be doing, there's quite a lot out there on planet Earth, South America, and some of those areas in Europe, very mountainous and very heavily wooded. Okay, we're clear to touch and go. I'm just going to acknowledge that.
Cleared for touch and go runway 21 Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
But otherwise, let's just do a bit of a showcase. Just using the external cameras here that come default with the aircraft and the simulation, to give you all an idea of how it looks. So as I mentioned before, the flight model is also completely revamped with this simulation. So the legacy FSX model is included and is selectable, but I'm running the modern flight model. So this will, I guess, mean that third-party developers will have to reconfigure their flight models accordingly for their third-party add-on aircraft. But hopefully that won't take too long, and I know that PMDG, I think it is, or have already developed some add-ons for FS 2020, and I do know that A2A Simulations are in the process of reviewing their suite of aircraft as well to port them over to this simulation. So just looking at the aileron there, and look at the reflections on the water. And these graphic settings are not even the full, I guess, full setting, I guess you could say. We're probably looking at about mid-range or a little bit higher on the graphical side of things. But yes, very, very stunning and beautiful. So this simulation is basically providing perfect foundation for years to come, basically, for add-on developers. So I do feel sorry for all the people, such as myself actually, that have spent hundreds if not thousands of dollars on payware add-ons for Flight Simulator X so far. Yeah, kind of have to start again now with this simulation. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is, let's just go ahead and look at the weather system. So you'll see here, there's all sorts of, you've got the date, you've got precipitation, you've got all these separate settings that you can play with. And so basically you can choose the presets like you've got here, the rain preset, and then you can fine tune the settings further from there. So obviously, as you can see here, the rain preset is pretty severe, so you'd be doing yourself, you'd have a pretty bad death wish to be wanting to fly your Cessna 172 in weather like this for sure. Being that it's not really VFR anymore, visual flight rules, it's more IFR, so instrument flight rules, certainly makes it for a very different experience. So these are the weather presets, but you can also use the live weather, which can change as you fly based on real world weather conditions. So just take a moment to listen to that sound of the rain hitting the aircraft, and you can see the water flowing off the windshield there and running across the side glass. All of these weather settings are out of the box. All of these weather effects are completely unmodded. And so yeah, what a beautiful simulation to continue your flight simming career on. Okay, so let's go through a few more settings here. Let's dial back the weather a little bit to overcast, and look at the way that the lighting has changed on the landscape just because the clouds are in the sky. You can see the sun there is quite muted, and the ground is very much less illuminated, I guess you could say, and you've got less reflections on the aircraft, less bloom, and very, very beautiful indeed. So that was overcast. Now click on the high level clouds. Again, that changes things a little bit more. Scattered clouds, and now that I've got scattered clouds, well, as I said before, with any of the presets you can go in and you can mess about with the fine tuning of the settings. such as the visibility, precipitation, pressure, temperature, all that sort of thing. Just taking a moment to admire the scenery here and the aircraft, while still trying to fly the plane as well. Beautiful, beautiful aircraft, beautiful simulation. I love the head-up displays which give you a overview of the topography of the terrain below. Alrighty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cancel my touch and go landing intentions.
Donegal Tower, Cessna Golf, Sierra Alpha, cancel landing intention. Cessna Golf, Sierra Alpha, your cancellation is received.
Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the ATC and basically request a full stop landing because we're not doing any touch and goes today.
Donegal Tower, Cessna Alpha, Sierra X-Ray Golf, Sierra Alpha is 1 mile north with Kilo to land. Cessna Alpha, Sierra X-Ray Golf, Sierra Alpha, Donegal Tower. Enter left base runway 21. Altimeter 29.9 to wind 276 at 8.
Okay, just acknowledge that.
Sierra Alpha cleared to land runway 21. Wind 276 at 8.
And acknowledge.
Cleared to land runway 21 Cessna Golf, Sierra Alpha.
Okay, so we're going to do our full stop landing shortly. So, yes, as you can see, a beautiful simulation. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add a little bit of rain to the existing cloud, scattered cloud preset. And you'll notice that the rain doesn't actually occur immediately where you are, obviously, only where the cloud cover is the heaviest. So, and there's lightning and all sorts of different settings you can choose. Look at that, I've just created my own custom weather there, and you can see how turbulence also is actually modeled too, but we're not really seeing it that much right now. But been on a few little flights so far, and in those flights we've seen the turbulence, so I've seen the turbulence become quite bad. And even on these light aircraft, well, with these light aircraft anyway, especially with these light aircraft I should say, the turbulence effects will buffet the aircraft quite severely, so you really got to be careful. Okay, just doing a very rudimentary final here, coming into land on runway 21 at the Donegal airfield in Ireland. So I really want to grease this landing, just come in, we'll add a bit of flaps and just keep the speed in check. Can hear the rain coming down now. Listen to the rain effect. Try and keep it on the center line and do a bit of a flare. Back off the throttle a little bit. Keep the nose high, and kiss. Yeah. Oh, a little bit of a bounce there. Alrighty, so we're on the ground and those wheels just touched down as well. Try and keep it in the center line.
Cessna Golf, Sierra Alpha, exit runway when able.
Okay, so we're going to go down to the taxi area from which we came. Just leave the runway as soon as we can. So what I'll do actually is I just want to show off the ground handling. So for those of you who like bush flying, such as myself, you can fly the Cub
Golf, Sierra Alpha, contact ground
and
on
just
129.8.
hang on, let's sort all this out. Okay, I'll contact ground shortly. What I want to do is just show you guys the grass and off-road effects as you drive or taxi the aircraft.
Golf, Sierra Alpha, did you copy?
Oh man, this guy's on my back, hang on. Let me just sort this out so that it doesn't keep asking us.
129 decimal, it's Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Okay, so I'm just going to add a bit of throttle here and go straight ahead, cross over the taxiway there. Hopefully there's no one coming. Should be fine. And listen and look at the effects as you drive or taxi your aircraft on the grass. There's a bit of a ditch over there to the left, so obviously do not want to fall into that. And you can see here the ground physics when driving or taxiing on the grass, on the dirt, is very well done. Okay, just apply the brakes there and come to a stop, and I think we'll halt proceedings here. So yes, just to summarize, very wonderful simulation for day one release. There are some bugs that need to be ironed out. I've noticed a few tiny little glitches in some parts of the terrain around the world. Nothing to really even mention, to be honest. Nothing even worth mentioning. Payware support, third-party support should hopefully be trickling in as the weeks and months progress. Performance, even on my mid-range computer, I'll call it mid-range, but it probably even isn't that, is very satisfactory. Do get some frame slowdowns now and again, but by and large, performance is very good. Now I've just applied the park brake, and you'll see there that I'm pressing the brakes and the park brake has not released, so that's a very welcome fix, because in Flight Simulator X the park brake always used to just come undone. Alright, so just kill the engine here and go ahead and kill the electrics and the avionics. Alrighty, so we'll hop out of the simulation shortly, and I'll show you the graphics options as promised to hopefully help you guys get the best of the simulation, especially if your computers aren't as top spec as you'd like them to be. I know mine certainly isn't. Listen to that range just falling. Just take a moment here to admire the surrounds. Okay, so back at the main menu now. Just going to go ahead and look at the graphics options and just show you guys what I've got set up for my configuration. And you can see I'm running 1920 by 1080. You'll see there it says high end for my global rendering quality. Even though I didn't think my computer was that great, apparently it's not so bad. You'll see there the depth of field, bloom, reflections, ambient occlusion, lens flare, settings, shadows, terrain shadows. So take note of this. A lot of this is just preset anyway, like I said before, so nothing really special here. It'll be interesting to see how some of the flights go over the more busier cities, and so I guess I'll find that out in due course. So yes, just as a summary, a very, very beautiful simulation with a lot of potential, and basically the benchmark for the years to come for Flight Simulator. So for those of you hanging on to Flight Simulator X, I think it's finally time that we begin to look at the new kid on the block. And some of you may choose to hang on to FSX a little bit longer, and I probably will as well, just so I can enjoy the payware add-ons for a little while longer. But once the migration to Flight Sim 2020 has begun and is underway, I can see myself playing this game a whole lot more in the future. So definitely a recommended buy from me. And yeah, we'll I hope to see you guys in future videos with this simulation. And as always, please like, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video, leave a comment below, and if there's anything you'd like to see in particular that I cover with Flight Sim 2020 in future videos, please do let me know in the comments as well. Thanks for watching.